Hello and Merry Christmas. This is the special Christmas edition of I Want to Talk About this album. There's really nothing Christmassy about it. There's no Christmas theme. I'm not wearing Christmas clothes. I'm not talking about Christmas music. Irregardless, this will be the last episode before Christmas. So Merry Christmas to everybody. I hope all of your Christmas wishes come true, and I hope you have a good time with your family or your friends. Whatever you do to celebrate Christmas, I hope it's a good one. And today, as you can see, I'm going to talk about Keel, the Right to Rock. Yeah, this is the first time I'm talking about Keel. So, of course, I'm gonna talk about my history with Keel and a few other things before I get to the track by track of the Right to Rock. This album came out in 1985. This is how I and most people discovered Keel. It was their second album. They had one called Lay Down the Law, which came out, I guess, a year before it in 83 or 84. That I still have never heard one single note from that album. And I would say I consider myself I don't know if there are too many hardcore Keel fans anywhere in the world at any time, but I do like Keel quite well. They're a little bit of an underdog for me. And so this album came out in 85, and I first heard it via the video of the title track, The Right to Rock, which was everywhere in 1985, at least in terms of the video where I'm from in Toronto or in Canada. We had, this was, I guess, a little bit before Much Music. There was a show called Toronto Rocks, which is a Toronto video show. And they used to play this video, the video for The Right to Rock, a lot. That was how I first heard Keel. And I ended up buying the record, The Right to Rock. And I've got it here. Here it is. And I'm going to get to it shortly. And you know, Keel, they never, what do you say? They didn't live up to their promise. I think it seemed like they had a good future. Gene Simmons produced this record, so they had the brand name recognition. They had a cool video. As I said, The Right to Rock was everywhere, this video. Although I don't ever recall hearing Keel on the radio ever once, except for maybe some, these late night Friday and Saturday metal shows I've talked about before. And I would say Keel is kind of in that category of, who else is like that? Y&T, Dokken, in terms of success and kind of style, maybe even less. I would say Dokken was definitely bigger than Keel. Yeah, Y&T, Keel, Lita Ford, I guess, was kind of like that. They were always kind of, touring and they were on decent bills, but they never, as far as I knew, never really headlined, anything like that. And I did see Keel once, almost saw them my first and only time seeing them should have been my second time. I had tickets to see Metallica. That show would have been August 8th or August 9th, 1986, and Keel was supposed to open that show. That would have been at the Concert Hall in Toronto, which was a 2,000-seat venue, maybe still my favorite venue ever. There are a couple of other ones that are really good too. And I'm freezing, by the way. It's if you see me rubbing my hands together. When I woke up today, it was only 9 degrees. And even today, I think it's only 23 or something, which, depending on where you're from, it's not that cold. And I don't help myself that I keep my windows open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and I sleep with a fan every night. And I wear shorts and t-shirt every day. But I'm struggling to get my core temperature back up. So I was supposed to see Metallica with Keel opening in August 1986. That was canceled or postponed because James Hetfield broke his arm skateboarding. It was postponed until, I think it was going to be in November. And I don't know if Keel would have been on the bill at that time, which that was then also postponed because Cliff Burton had died. And I ended up seeing Metallica on December 9th, 86. Anyway, so I missed Keel seeing them that time. They also did open for Bon Jovi, which I guess didn't really, at that point in 86, they were touring behind their next album, which was The Final Frontier. They had the opening spot for Bon Jovi, I guess, earlier in the summer of 86, which I guess didn't really turn into much. Kind of a funny thing to think of now that Keel was touring with Bon Jovi, who went on to become just massive. Now, the one time that I did see Keel, and I don't remember them ever coming to Toronto, but I saw them all the way in Hollywood, California. I saw Keel at the Roxy in March 1989, which was awesome. I'd gone to LA with some friends of mine. We went there because we were big music fans. We went to the Cat House. We met Axl a couple of times. We met Tammy Down from Faster Pussycat. And as it happened, Keel was playing at the Roxy. We went to see them. They recorded. They had a live kind of one of these albums that I think the first side was live, the second half was new material, something like that, or maybe it was the other way around. The first half I think was new material, the second half was live. Called Larger Than Live, which came out in, I saw them in March '89. I guess the album came out probably in late '89 or early '90. Larger Than Live didn't really go anywhere at that point. I guess Keel had kind of missed their chance. But I like Keel. This is, I wouldn't say this is quite a staple in the hard rock community. I would say it's not even my favorite Keel album. Realistically, they had four full albums. They had Lay Down the Law, which, as I said, I've never heard. The Right to Rock was second. Final Frontier third. The Self-Titled was fourth. And then Larger Than Live, which doesn't really count because it was just like a half studio, half live album. So of the three, really, The Right to Rock, Final Frontier, and the Self-Titled, I'd say The Right to Rock is probably my least favorite, but I do like it well enough. And Keel, I don't know what was with them. They they had the image. I guess the timing was right. I don't know why they didn't get, and I'm not saying they should have. I just don't know why they didn't get bigger than they did. They had the tour with Bon Jovi. Great logo, the Keel logo, and their record covers, especially The Right to Rock and Final Frontier, especially were great album covers. But they just promise unfulfilled. And this album, I should note, also produced by Gene Simmons. And there are a couple of, I did mention that, there are a couple of songs on here that Gene wrote. And at the time, I thought he wrote them for the album. Later, much later, just some years ago, I read in the internet era, of course, that they were actually written, they were songs that Gene had. I guess they didn't live up to the Gene 1984-85 standard. And I guess he graciously donated them to Keel, and Keel did them. And looking back on it, I don't know if you call this a retro bias, you can really hear that these are Gene Simmons songs, especially lyrically. I'll talk about those when I get to the track by track. Anything else about this? Something else, speaking of the internet era, I only learned months ago when I got this record. By the way, I got this record at El Chopo 4, 5, 6 months ago, maybe. If anybody, Mike Pratt. And by the way, I think Mike Pratt probably likes Keel. I don't know if anybody else likes Keel, but I have a feeling that Mike Pratt does like Keel. Keel and Nirvana, I think, are his two favorites behind Kiss. And so I got this at El Chopo. I had a lot of problems with Amazon, some records I got from there. For about a month, they were sending me the wrong albums or two copies of the same album. So I had a copy of, they sent me two copies, which I never ordered, of Motorhead Inferno. I kept one, and I traded the other one for The Right to Rock, which I probably got ripped off for. That was a brand new copy of Inferno, which is a double album. It's probably a little bit more valuable than Keel, but I didn't care. I didn't need Inferno in the first place. I especially didn't need to. So I got this then, and as I kind of have a tendency to do, I look things up and I read about it, and I read that, and I didn't know this for all these years until a few months ago, that Steve Riley played the drums on this album. It's credited as Dwayne Miller. Where's Dwayne? This is Dwayne here. So all along until 2023, from 1985, I thought that Dwayne Miller played drums on this album, The Right to Rock. He did not. It was Stephen Riley, who just died, was it about a month, 6 weeks ago or something, who played with Wasp and LA Guns. So Dwayne Miller did not appear. That's Dwayne without an E. Who else? Kenny Chason, who was Greg Chason's brother from Badlands. Ron Keel. Mark Ferrari, of course, I guess, who's the maybe one of the more notable guys in this band. And Brian J. was the second guitarist, Mark Ferrari and Brian J. Kind of funny about Keel, the singer Ron Keel, who the band is named after, like Dokken and Van Halen. I don't know when this was, 15 years ago maybe. He kind of transformed into a country singer and called himself Ronnie Lee Keel. which sounds like a joke, but unfortunately, it's not a joke. It's true. I'm sure I never heard one note also of that music. I don't mind that he, tried something different, but the name change really killed me. When I heard that he had changed his name to Ronnie Lee Keel, whatever interest I had at that point, which is probably very little, I lost it. I can't listen to a guy called Ronnie Lee Keel. But Ron Keel, the singer for the band Keel, it's pretty cool. So I think now I can get to the track by track. The first track is the first song is the title track. And the record is, it's just one of these crappy plastic sleeves. It is a used copy. There it is. This is the same label as the one that I had. This is an original one. I don't know if this was ever reprinted on vinyl at any point. But anyway, the first song is the title track. As I said, this song was ubiquitous in 1985, around there. All my life I've been fighting for the right to make my stand. Scream my anthem through the night. Hold the power in my hand. I'm gonna do it my way or not do it at all. Taking the world on my terms. I'll take it by the balls. I'll fight for freedom in the American way. The right to, I'll fight for free and the American way. The right to something for what, and the right, I can't remember, but that's the right to rock. Obviously very, very anthemic, and this was 1985. This was a year before, I guess the Beastie Boys were fighting for the right to party. Keel was fighting for the right to rock. Very anthemic, very, representative of that time. All these hair metal, whatever you want to call it, bands were, singing these rock and roll anthems, and good for 15-year-old metalheads, as I was. And I like that song. I've always liked that song, "The Right to Rock." It's a good one. Next is "Back to the City." This one I never really got into. I'm going home, back to the city. Big chorus and everything. It's okay, nothing special, but it's fine. Next is "Let's Spend the Night Together." Yes, Keel covered the Rolling Stones. Can I say that I like Keel's cover of "Let's Spend the Night Together" more than I like the Rolling Stones' original version of "Let's Spend the Night Together"? And I was never a big Rolling Stones fan, so maybe that's why. And I was a big Keel fan, and still am kind of a big Keel fan. And I thought this was a great cover. Not just that I liked their version better. I thought they did it really, really well. It sounded like, not that Keel had a signature sound or anything, but I thought "Let's Spend the Night Together" was an excellent cover. Love it. Next is "Easier Said Than Done." Now, almost just by the song title alone, you can tell that this is a Gene Simmons song. And this is maybe this one, and maybe one other are my two favorites. "Easier Said Than Done," very, very catchy. It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. Classic Gene Simmons lyrics. It's a dirty job, but somebody's... I've got to be the one. I got some real bad news. Beggars can't be choosy. You can hide, but you can't run. It's oh so simple. It's easier said than done. These big choruses with the gang vocals and everything. It's a great song. A real... I guess a snapshot of the time this album and that song is. Next is another classic Gene Simmons written song, "So Many Girls, So Little Time." And there's a line in this that I'm sure, and you know what? I guess these were, I assume they were on Gene Simmons' Vault, that 7 or 8 or 9, however many disc box set that he put out 5 years ago, whatever it was. I should go back and look at that. And I never listened to that full box set ever. I listened to the first 3, 4, 5 discs, something like that, and then some random songs here and there, but never listened to the full thing. I should go back and I assume the original versions of "Easier Said Than Done" and "So Many Girls, So Little Time." And then there's another one coming up later that are Gene songs. But there's a line in "So Many Girls, So Little Time" that actually sounds like Gene singing. And it's the second line of the song. The opening is, she's so cool, she's so wild, she's not much more than a child. Yeah! Totally. That's Ron Keel, or Ronnie Lee Keel, channeling, I think, his inner demon, his Gene Simmons. Because that, yeah, really sounds like Gene Simmons. Because there's so many girls, so little time. I like that song. The next side is the first song is Electric Love. Maybe this one or Easier Said Than Done are my two favorites. Your Electric Love shocks me through the night. Turn on the pull the trigger, flick the switch, blow my fuse. Your Electric Love. All those three things. Pull my trigger, pull the trigger, flick the switch, blow my fuse. Those are all very, very generic hair metal type. AC/DC said flick of the switch, blow my fuse. Kicks had that. It's like Keel, and maybe Keel was before some of these. No, this came out after Flick of the Switch. They just took all these kind of rock and roll or hair metal, whatever cliches, and took them all together and put them in Electric Love. But it's a great song. I would say it is my favorite. Next is Speed Demon. Speed Demon. This song's okay. Not my favorite, but it's all right. Next is Get Down. This is the third and last song that Gene wrote. I like this song too. It doesn't sound like a Gene song like the other two, like So Many Girls So Little Time and Easier Said Than Done. It's kind of a slow, a little bit of a groove, and then the Get Down, the chorus is a little bit faster. I like that song. The last song is You're the Victim, I'm the Crime. That sounds like a Gene Simmons song title, but it's not. It's a Keel or Ron Keel song. This one, it's for sure my least favorite. This is a little bit of a meat-headed song. I didn't really like it when these bands that were not heavy bands, they were, at the time it was acceptable to call Keel heavy metal. But with these bands that were not really heavy, they were rock bands, and when they kind of tried to be heavy or fast, didn't really like those. This one, You're the Victim of the Crime, it's just too fast. And No 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 by Kiss is one like that. Maybe the one Saigon Kick song that I don't really like is Body Bags. Skid Row, Slave to the Grind, the title track Slave to the Grind. I don't want Skid Row to sound fast and heavy like that, and I don't want Keel to sound like they did on You're the Victim on the Crime. It's just too, it sounds very forced. Yeah? So that's it. That's Keel. I do have another Keel album that I am going to talk about at some point. It might be weeks from now, it might be months from now. It was gifted to me by Miguel recently, and I will talk about that at some point when I get around to it. So again, Merry Christmas to everybody. And that is all for this one by Keel. You got it! Fight for it! The right to rock.